Hello, family. Welcome. It has been a while. I am Sir Ashley, your real estate advisor. And on this channel, we talk about personal finance and real estate. Today, I want to jump into how you can win in today's very challenging housing market. Now, it's not a secret. It's not a secret at all. Prices and affordability have gotten out of control. If you can hear me, hit the like button or put in the chat. I can hear you. Want to make sure I'm not talking to myself. All right. So pricing has gotten out of control, and I want to provide you with some options, some programs, and just make you aware of things that can help facilitate in making housing more affordable to you and how people are actually winning in today's market when they could not win the past 2.5 years. Now, interest rates are firmly in the sevens, but there are ways in which you can lower your interest rate moving forward. I do have a guest. I have a loan officer, Sahaad Washington. She has helped several of my clients in the past, and I'm about to bring her on right now. Hello, Sahaad. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you for joining us tonight. Um, I guess we want to talk about just the different programs and everything that's available for people in today's market and how they can win moving forward and presenting offers and obtaining property, obtaining home ownership.
Sure. So, the first thing is everyone that is in the market buying a home right now needs to have a positive attitude because some of these changes that have occurred in the market are really for your benefit. In the last 6 months or so, what we've seen right here in North Carolina and South Carolina is our home buyers were getting severely outbid 10, 20, 30, $40,000 on residential properties by investors. With interest rates being slightly higher now, and really back to a regular mortgage interest rate market, it has slowed down the investors from bulk purchasing residential property. So, what this means is your biggest competition is no longer on the market, and if they are, they're scarce. So, that's great news for families and for home buyers because you actually have a chance to really compete now. When investors were here paying severely over asking price for properties, it did two things. It inflated the sellers to where they believed that they could sell their house for astronomical prices.
That's
They
the
weren't
truth.
even looking at offers,
Yeah.
demanding things like, we only want all cash deals, we'll only take over asking price. Or if they took a financed option, buyers were being asked, we need you to waive all of the inspections, no contingencies. And those things really, especially if you're a first time home buyer or you're relocating, that's a scary thing to think of, that you're essentially waiving all of your rights just to have an opportunity to get into a property. So now that we're no longer in a buyer abusive market,
So you are
and
the first person I've heard use that phrase, buyer abusive market. Wow. That's what the past 2 years were, past 2.5 years were, you say?
yeah, it's
The
been
buyers were getting
buyer
abused?
abusive.
Yeah, I got you.
Right.
Okay.
um, Buyer abusive. So now that we're no longer there,
Yeah.
um, families and buyers don't need to be discouraged. You should feel uplifted because it's your turn now. With the interest rates being slightly higher, although it makes changes for you for your month to month payment, it does give you leverage that you have not had in the last 2 years. So, all the sellers that had their homes on the market or that waited too long to list and missed
Yes.
the investment bubble, okay, in
Real
October, where
quick,
we're at,
before we go
huh?
into there, real quick, 1 second.
Mm-hmm,
Sorry to cut you off. I have to. You mentioned to begin with having a positive attitude, positive outlook on things.
mm-hmm,
Now, I am, I don't know, maybe to a detriment. I see everything as half full, right?
Mhm.
So I try to look at things in a positive light. And I try to tell everyone, and what you said, I don't want to just glance over it, because there's so much negativity
Mhm.
revolving around the housing market and fear, pretty much, that
Mhm.
that's what grabs a lot of eyeballs and a lot of attention. And if you haven't been living under a rock, you know that it's hard times right now economically for a lot
Mhm.
of people in the country. We're about to go through a recession, if not already in a recession,
Mhm.
however they want to define it. There's going to be enough negativity in general in the world.
Mhm.
So when embarking on something like buying a home or anything big, you want to surround yourself with positivity. Now, I'm not saying
Yeah.
be delusional. You want to be able to have both sides, but it's important to surround yourself with people that's giving you the facts and showing you how to take advantage and how to win, as opposed to telling you to wait. Because people that's been telling you to wait for the past 2 years, they really did you a disservice. Because I knew some people that could have acted in the past. What, 2021 was the best time in our lifetime to buy a home, just as far as affordability goes.
Yeah.
When
Mhm.
interest rates were in the twos, threes, fours, but people were pumping fear into you and caused people that should have bought at that time to sit on the sideline. So now is the time to take everything, look at everything that's happening around us, but also see how can I take advantage of this situation? Because there are going to be people that's going to be winning during this downturn.
Yeah.
And is that going to be you, or are you going to be like, man, I wish I should have, or you don't want to be in another 2 years like you were just you could have been last year, saying, man, I should have taken advantage of that situation. When what Sahaad is going to share with you a little later, there's some programs and opportunities to put you in a position to make the house more affordable and to get you on the property ladder. Real quick, Martin, what's up, family? How you doing? Ozahar, what's going on? Thank you for rocking with us on a Friday evening. I know it's quite random, but I hadn't come live in a while, so here we are. So thank you for joining me. Hopefully you have a drink and here to listen to Sahad. So please, sorry to interrupt you.
No. So, with the market changing, this is really the best opportunity. I'm always very optimistic. I've seen a lot of my buyers that have been sitting on the bench, really feeling discouraged in this process because they've had to compete with investors and lost. They've been waiting a long time. And the level of excitement when the listing agent says their offer is under consideration, don't get discouraged in this process. This is
Yeah,
this is real estate.
yeah,
What's been happening the last 2 years, people have this idea of what the mortgage industry and what real estate looks like based on the last 2 years, and that's not real. That's like an anomaly. We may never see what happened in the last 2 years. We may never see that again in our lifetime. And people forget that this was the result of a worldwide pandemic, right?
yeah.
So, unless that happens again, we may never see what we've seen in the last 2 years. Um, it's
What
mm,
real quick. What I
mm,
just it's a result of the pandemic and everything. And
mm,
right now what we're seeing is the Fed trying to overcorrect their own mistake.
mhm,
They kept interest rates extremely low for too
mhm,
long.
yeah,
And right now, that is impacting how many houses are coming to market, because so many people have locked in interest rates. What I saw a stat: over 80% of home loans in this country are 4% or less.
right.
So if you have a interest rate of 4% or less, even if you've had another kid or even two kids, you're gonna second guess selling that home and what buying or what moving up in another house, because you know you're not going to get that same interest rate anymore.
Mhm,
And so this is just the Fed trying to correct their problem that they
mhm,
caused. And unfortunately, this is where we are. This is the position we're in. So let's make the most of it.
absolutely. The Fed in the fear, the media has really put this fear over buyers and in kind of bullied people into a panic,
Yeah.
and everyone who's in the real estate industry, we're kind of just like, because we understand the backside of it, we're like, all right, stop scaring people, that's enough, like, get out of here. I'm tired of it. I don't even watch the news because a lot of the information is wildly incorrect. And then you also have people on the internet, looking up everything. And I always say go to your licensed professionals because, and this is a joke, but I don't ever want anyone to get their Google search confused with my mortgage license. So if I'm telling you this is what you can afford and here are your options, right?
Hmm.
Whatever your friend did, your grandma, this person did 2 years ago, your mortgage financing is unique to you and your family. Nobody else, no two are going to look the same. The market is going to keep changing. That's what it does. You just have to learn how to pivot. So now we have all these tools and programs that haven't been talked about in such a long time because we haven't needed to talk about them. But there's options out here if you're trying to purchase. And one of them is flat out negotiations.
Oh
We
man, I love that. Thank you. You just got to
October,
negotiate.
right? So if
Yes.
I'm selling my house in October and I had big plans of selling my house and making big money and what I'm going to do by Christmas time and the new year, if my house hasn't sold right now, I'm getting desperate.
Yeah.
Okay. Desperation stinks. A house sitting on the market right now is a perfect opportunity for a family to go in with an excellent realtor like yourself and start negotiating. Start talking to your lender. We are a team. What angle are we going to work? Because I know this house has been sitting. I know you got to sell it. I know you had plans for your holidays and for the New Year's. You know, there's blood in the water. Everybody just has to learn how to swim with the sharks. That's it.
And this is I'm glad you mentioned that because the past 2 years has been people have gotten thousands and thousands of people have gotten to the real estate industry and they
Hmm.
think this is just how it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
It really didn't take skill to list a home and it's sold in not even days, it's sold in hours. And it
Right.
didn't really take skill if your client had a lot of money just to throw it at the offer. Now,
Hmm.
the skill and creativity is what's winning the deal. I mentioned on my last video, I did a
Yes.
video, put out a video recently, and I touched on it where purchase price of the home, actually we're closing on it Tuesday, and I was hesitant on telling the strategy before we even closed on the property,
Yeah.
but
Get out.
um, hell, if they watch the channel, they should see that their realtor cost them about $11,000. But
Oof.
price house was what
Ugh.
315, and we got it under contract for what 297. Actually 305. Sorry, 305 with some concessions, seller concessions, and that was okay. My client was perfectly happy with that. We were good. We had about $7,000, $8,000 worth of seller's concessions. Um, we were happy with that, but the appraisal came back and it came in lower than we thought, and we just went back and negotiated and
Mhm.
negotiated and negotiated some more to where we got it at. It went from 315 to 305 to 294 plus $7,000 in seller concessions. So the seller concessions were actually used to buy down the interest rate.
Yeah.
So not
So,
only we got lower interest rate, we got a lower
mhm,
price, all because their agent on the other end didn't quite know what they're doing.
mhm.
So
That had a stink for that seller, but that's some excellent negotiating that you
yeah,
did there. Buy downs are something that have not been talked about, but everyone's talking about them now. And essentially, what a buy down is for the first year or two, we're gonna give it to you easy. And then in the third year and beyond, you're going to go back to what your regular rate is. The way a buy down works is you would request that the seller pay for your lower interest rate. It's going to cost money to do this. And they don't have to agree to do it, but it's an option. It's something to ask for. So, what is the lowest buy down towards interest rates? So, 2-1 buy downs. There may be other companies out there that are offering higher than 2-1 buy downs. I haven't seen that, but it could be out there. But 2-1 or one buy down just means for 2 years or for 1 year.
Now, I
So,
put a chart on the screen. I
mhm,
cannot blow it up. I tried messing around before we went live, and I can't blow it up to make it evident for everyone. But there is a link to it in the description, so you can see exactly. It explains what a 2-1 buy down is. That Sahaad is talking about the program that she's offering with her company.
yeah. So one of the options for a buy down, instead of you as the buyer coming out of your pocket to buy down an interest rate, we would ask the seller to participate in a buy down and buy down your interest rate for the first 2 years or the first year of your mortgage. And they would pay for that expense. This is an excellent option if it makes sense for you and your family. So it's kind of like easing
Yeah.
into it. So for year number one, you'd have a lower interest rate, lower monthly payment. Year number two, it's going to increase a little bit. Year number three, you're at today's regular interest rate. The goal and how to use this is that by year number two coming to the end, that the market has either corrected itself and you're prepared to refinance your property into better loan terms, or you're going to be comfortable making that payment at the higher interest rate. And there's pros to cons to this. I just want to be completely honest.
Yeah.
If you are a family where your financials are not always the greatest, and that's okay. We're human. We're not perfect. Okay? I look at credit reports all day. I know everybody's different. If you feel like, I don't know where we're going to be in a year or two. I don't know if we're going to be able to refinance into a better loan program when that time comes. That's something that you need to consider, because that may not make sense for your family if a lot of changes could happen over a year, 2 years, right? People's family grow, people die, people have babies. Your job is going to force you to relocate. There's all different things that could happen. Are you prepared to make the highest possible payment? That is really what you need to ask yourself if you participate in a buy down. Are you ready for it when it goes back up? Are you prepared to refinance if you don't want to pay the full payment and the full interest rate?
Now,
So,
I am glad you clarified that because anybody that's been watching the channel knows that I'm a little leery of arms
mhm,
and 2-1 buy downs and all that, like deviations of arms.
mhm,
However, if you go into the situation fully aware of
mhm,
what you're getting into, I
mhm,
say, like you just said, make your budget around the top payment. Like, what is it going to be at the end? Now, just
mhm,
consider the first 2 years is just gravy, but knowing that you can make that top payment, that what is going to end up being in year three,
mhm.
and be comfortable doing that moving forward for you and your family.
Yeah.
Now, if you're like, no, that's going to stretch me too thin, then I
Mhm.
don't believe that this option is for you, because we don't want to go into any situation while we want to be hopeful that things may get better. We don't want to be totally reliant on things getting better.
Correct.
So,
Mhm,
so, so yes, just use it as a strategy to where you say, okay, for the first 2 years, I get a little grace period. I can put some toward my well, one, you can put it toward principal if you want to, or you can put it toward some investments, some college funds for your kids or something like that. But knowing that you're comfortable with that high mortgage payment or the end mortgage payment.
yeah. I definitely, with my clients, when we talk about these options, arms included.
Hmm.
So I don't encourage any family or buyer to use an arm unless they really know how it works and they can explain it back to me, because I have always felt that arms are for those that are financially strong, those are getting ready to make a move in the next 5 years, they are by design for a mortgage that is going to change. So if you're a family of five, you know you're staying put for the next 5 to 7 years because that's the average. Does this make sense for you? Don't let desperation lead your decisions. You know your finances better than anybody else. As a lender, I only get to see what's on your credit report and calculate the and do the math based on what I have access to, and that's your credit report and your finances. Only you will truly know how much daycare costs, what your groceries cost, how much gas, what your extracurriculars look like. Only you really know your real budget. So when I speak to my clients and we talk about your real budget, make sure that you're factoring in everything where you really spend money. Maybe you go to Dunkin' Donuts every single day. Hey, whatever. But
Whatever you get into.
whatever you get into,
Yeah.
does it
Well,
make sense? Does it work for your family? Does this loan make sense for you for the time being, because you can always change it if
mhm.
you qualify? That's another thing. Family credit changes. Things happen. You could have went into this process with excellent credit. Something could have occurred in the next 6 months after you close on your home, a year after you close on your home, and you're now in a totally different credit credit criteria. Credit profile has changed drastically, right?
Yeah.
I know that credit activity has some of the most severe impact on making or breaking whether you get into a home. So if you were betting on, hey, I know I have to make a change to this mortgage in 6 months or in a year, but something has occurred on your credit, right? Are you prepared to stay in that higher interest rate payment? Can you do it? So budgeting is very important. And that's my take on the buy downs. Use them to your advantage if they make sense for you.
Yes. Real
Mhm.
quick. Mr. Graham, Orlandis, we'll get to your question in 1 second. You mentioned about your credit changing and credit
Mhm.
profile changing over time.
Mhm.
And some people reached out to me and was like, "Sir, why are you such a stickler about people buying ASAP? Why? You're just a realtor. You want people to buy. You want people to buy." One, I know what real estate did for me, how it changed my life and my family's life. So yes, I believe everybody should buy. No, I believe
Mhm.
you should be wise in buying, but you don't know what's going to happen in the future. And if you can get qualified to purchase a home right now, or when I was hyping it up for everyone a year, 2 years ago, then I believe you should take advantage of it, because you never know, your circumstances may change. And God forbid you lose a job or something. If you're renting, how many missed mortgage payment, I mean, missed rental payments do you think your landlord is going to allow you to stay in the home before they evict you? Now, we don't want to think about the negative side or the end, the bad stuff. But if you fall behind, if you own a home and fall behind, you have to fall behind at least 3 months before you even get a default letter. Notice a default. And the foreclosure process, at least in the Carolinas, can take up to 2 to 3 years. So, who do you think is in a better position if they lose a job? Somebody that's renting that can't afford, that's going to get evicted in 60 days? Or if you
Mhm.
own a home and can't afford it, you can go through the different measures and really be in that home for almost 3 years. So I know
Yeah.
it's a little bit off topic for what we're talking about right now, but you just never know what's going to happen in the future. And even with this economic uncertainty, I believe you're just in a stronger position owning a home, because they can't just come and kick you out. It's going to take some time.
Mhm.
Whereas if you rented it, they can come in and bring the sheriff and kick you out. So,
Right.
Orlandis, your question is, which is better? I think I know the answer to this, but I'll leave it to Sahaad. A buy down or builder closing cost incentives?
Well, how much money they going to give you? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. I'll never tell anybody to leave free money on the table. So that really comes down to, again, what makes sense for you and your family. Um, if somebody's going to give me free money to get into a property, there's a very good chance that I'm going to take the free money, right? And as far as buying now, to what sir said, listen, you don't interest rates are high, all right? Rent is 100%, okay? You're paying somebody else's mortgage off. Somebody
Yeah.
else is making money off of it. There's only one thing for absolute certain, okay? Rent is going up. Rent
Yeah.
is going up.
Where did
You can't refinance your rent,
there you go.
okay?
I say Matt left a comment saying rent goes up. It goes up
Yeah.
over time. Um, but to go back to Orlando's question, so right now, if you're buying new construction, presently, I can't say this is going to be the case 6 months from now, and it definitely wasn't the case for clients that went under contract just 3 months ago. Presently, builders are giving you both. They're offering to buy down your rate and giving you some closing costs.
Yeah.
I recently had a builder here in the Charlotte area give a client up to $44,000 to use however they wanted to use it, whether it be closing costs and buy downs. Um, and then on top of that, after we were under contract, they reduced the price an additional 25,000, which I've never seen a builder do.
Mhm.
So I thought that was that just showed a level of integrity from that builder, and it was a national builder, and I haven't seen other national builders do that, or any builder
Mhm.
reduce the purchase price after being under contract, because they were going to reduce the price for the other properties in the community. So like it's only fair that we reduce it for the people who are already under contract as well. So it was
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
Martin, I see you. I see you. It wasn't. It's not who we wanted to be. It's not who we wanted to be. It was a different. It was a different builder.
So I want to read there were a lot of people able to save their homes due to having equity. You don't have equity when that's right. You don't have equity when you're renting. That's absolutely right. That's another reason to buy right now because you don't know what the future holds. And owning a property, it really does change things for your life and gives you and your family a sense of stability. I moved to the Carolinas for real estate as a lender. The first property that I ever owned was just a rinky dink property. But that same property is worth double what I paid for it now. I haven't done anything, not a single upgrade, but it's worth double. I've refinanced it. A few years ago, when my car went out, I pulled equity out of my house and went and bought a new car. You can't do that on an apartment that you're renting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons to buy and programs that are out there. One of the programs that my company is offering, and I didn't even say it, but I work with Movement Mortgage.
Oh yeah.
We
Sorry, we kind of hit
Yeah,
that. Sorry about that.
I didn't even say
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
I work with Movement Mortgage. We cover about 10 to 12% of all residential loans that are done here in North Carolina and South Carolina. So we're pretty big. But the program that we're offering is for if you live in an area like Philadelphia, certain
Hold
parts
on.
of Delaware, Maryland, if you live in certain communities, major cities across the country, if you qualify for this grant, and it is a true grant, you can use it anywhere. So for me, I moved from Philadelphia to the Carolinas. If this program would have been present when I moved here, I would have been able to qualify for it in my city and then use that money to move down here to the Carolinas. So that also is going to be linked in the description, but that's up to
I'm
eight
trying to.
thousand dollars in grant
Yeah, I'm
money.
trying to pull that up right now. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's up to $8,000 in grant money if you qualify based on your city. And there are always going to be programs available. So I would love to be your lender, but if I don't end up being your lender, do your research and ask the questions. What are you offering? Is it just for first time buyers or can I use it as a second time buyer? Do you have anything for transplants? I do. Um, what are you doing as far as interest rates? Do you offer buy downs? Right.
Yep.
And another thing you can personally ask your loan officers. So I know I do it. I will speak to the listing agent when you submit an offer. I will call. I will talk about how wonderful you are and how strong your profile is, and also answer any questions that they may have, because real estate agents are not loan officers. In mortgage world, nobody does mortgages all day long unless you're a loan officer like myself. So I like to communicate with everybody that's going to be involved in the transaction to let them know that I'm accessible and you can reach me. So I represent you as my client, and I'm working with your real estate agent, Sir Ashley, and I'm here if you have any questions from the other side.
And we
So,
just we just closed the deal, what, 2 weeks ago? That wasn't this week, it was
yeah,
last week. Yeah.
yeah.
And you were on top of it. Now, people that do transactions with me, Martin, whatnot, once we're under contract, I'm pretty much in the background.
Mhm.
And Sahaad and Gina, or the mortgage officer and Gina and the attorney's office, handle everything. And I just look at the emails, making sure everything's done. And you were on it. You were on it, closed
Oh,
with no
thank you.
problems. So thank you.
Thank you. Um, I'd like to know if they have any specific questions
Yes.
that I might have missed, because this is a good crowd.
So yeah, if you have any questions, please just put a Q in front of it in the chat, and don't please hit that like button and share this with friends, colleagues. Let them know that we're live right now. I know it's a Friday night, but it's also cold here in the Carolinas. Actually, is it cold right now?
This
It
is
was cold.
not cold. So if you're in a different area, if you're up north or maybe even the Midwest, it's like 60 degrees outside. This is not real cold.
It's not cold right now, but it's cold in the morning, like 34 degrees cold, 37. Yeah.
That's not even really that cold.
Now you see, I'm normally in a black t-shirt. I'm in a black sweatshirt right now. I had to switch it up because it's cold out.
No. I'd say what surprised me is my first Christmas here. It was 70 degrees on Christmas.
Yeah, that
How
is
do
something
those
I do
trans
miss. I do
how
miss.
do those transplant states cities get showed in more curiosity on my part? So
So
two factors.
yeah,
The investors that are behind it, the point of the program is to help close the wealth gap for minority families. So if you live in one of these census tracts, it's because your area specifically may have been severely underserved. I can tell you that this program is most likely going to grow the areas where they qualify, but these are the starting cities right
it's
here.
right here on the screen right now. If you can see it, I know it's tight, but if you can see it, if you don't mind sharing, you can read it as well, Sahad.
Yeah, sure. So the cities that are on here are, so Atlanta, Sandy Springs, Alpharetta, which is not on the flyer, but Alpharetta, Georgia. If you're in those eligible markets, so you don't have to necessarily live in that exact area, but if you're in that market, you may qualify. Baltimore, Columbia, Townsend, Maryland, Chicago, Naperville, Elgin, so Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin. All right. Detroit, Warren, Dearborn, Michigan, Memphis, yeah, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, certain areas around there, those markets. Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington, so that's Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. So these surrounding markets. So it doesn't have to necessarily be pinpointed, you have to live here, but it's letting you know that if you live in this market or around this market, and you can always call me to check, and I can look it up for you. Then that way, if you know that you qualify as a first time buyer, you can then take that money and move anywhere. We're going to still give you the grant, and you can take it wherever. Hopefully you come to North Carolina and South
South
Carolina.
Carolina, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the best part about this program is that there isn't an income cap. So, one thing on here that someone in here asked about it, if you're shopping through lenders and they're saying they're offering programs, I need you to be diligent and ask them, do you have restrictions on where you're going to allow me to live? And do you have restrictions on how much money I can make in my family? I need you to ask those two questions, because that doesn't end up in the fine print on all these flyers. All these big banks, they're promoting this stuff. We have programs. Yeah, whatever. Tell me about the small print. The devil is in the details. So,
Hmm.
those two questions: are you going to restrict me to where I can live? And is there a restriction on how much money I can make or my family? You make sure that you offer. What's the name of the program? So this program is called the. Actually, that's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So we don't have a. There's not a name on it.
Yeah, it's not a
Well,
name
I'm
on it,
gonna
but
name it the
there's
Game
a
Changer. We're just
yeah,
gonna call it the Game Changer because there's no
it's
income limit.
it's linked below. You can pull up this flyer, you can see it, and Sahaad's information is on it. So feel free to contact her directly. But the link to these flyers that I'm pulling up uh, are in the description of the video. So feel free to look at it, share it, and there's a couple more questions. Sorry. Oh, do you
Rose Laura.
recommend? Yes. Do you recommend
Mhm.
seeking two or three lenders, or going with the builder's lender? Uh, go for it.
So that's going to depend on your profile. So
Yeah.
depending on the builder, there are some of them here in the Carolinas where they require you to at least apply with their lender in order for you to be eligible to purchase a home in their community. So that's one right off the bat. There's also these fine little rules where they say, well, you have to use one of our preferred partners in order to get any of the incentives that we're offering. That's another rule that they have.
Well,
And then lastly, if the builder allows you to come in with your own lender, then that's really up to you. If you're not purchasing a new construction home and this does a new construction home and it doesn't apply to you, I say this: if you know that your credit profile is sensitive, interview your lenders, decide who you want to work with, do your application with the one you like the best first. And if you're satisfied with what they're offering, but you still want those second opinions, get your mortgage applications done the same day. The credit pulls the same day. The reason why I say that is the rule of thumb is you have a window, you have up to 20 days or you have up to 2 weeks, right?
it's 45 days, but yeah,
45 days.
yeah,
45 days. Well, let me just tell you something as a person that looks at credit reports every day. The credit report pulled on the first of the month and the credit report pulled 45 days later look different.
yeah.
So, if you want everybody to get the same score, do them at the same time. Do not fill out your information on the internet and say, let a lender contact me. They will run your credit a million times. You're going to get a phone call from 1,000 different lenders. Okay. And avoid pop-up companies unless they are recommend. I shouldn't say pop-up, but avoid companies that you're unfamiliar with unless your realtor tells you this is my preferred partner that I work with. The reason I say that is because in the last couple of years, not only did we have a surge of new real estate agents, we also had a surge of new mortgage companies.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
They just opt out of the woodworks. So many of them I can't even name them. Well, I know in this last month, and I have friends in the industry, there are a lot of companies, mortgage companies, just going out of business because they're not making enough money right now. So they just close the door, right? They don't owe you anything. They just, you know what? We're not making enough money. We can't keep up. Compliance, regulation. We're done. We're shutting our doors. Loan officers fired, assistants fired. And you that has a mortgage application in with ABC Mortgage Company that just went out of business, now what are you doing?
Yeah.
You got to go find somebody else. So my answer to that question is it depends on you. If you know your credit sensitive and your credit, you might have just made it, you don't need to pull your credit 2, 3 times. That's not for you. If you're sitting
And
on the fence.
real quick, it's a caveat when you're doing new construction as well, because obviously you got to get. Well, she said you have to get pre-approved with the builder's lender, preferred lender, or in-the-house lender, and that's just to get started, right? Um, you're going to be pulling your credit again when it gets time to the home is about to be completed. Like 45 days, 60 to 45 days from the completion, you're going to get have to pull your credit again. So that's when you should really start shopping around, because I'm not gonna say it doesn't make sense, but what they tell you today is not going to be the same as what 3 4 months when the home is ready, when you really
Right.
need to go under loan.
Or the
um
credit report expires.
exactly.
So
uh
that's another thing. If you're doing new construction and you visit the north, you visit the Carolinas with Sir, you find the model home of your dreams, and they tell you we will have this house done in 1 year. Okay. Well, in 1 year, the average credit report is 90 days to a 120-day window with most lenders. So after 90 days or 3 months, a quarter, think of it that way, each quarter, a quarter goes by, we have to repull your credit.
yeah.
So what you qualified for when you fell in love with the house, if you've had changes on your credit profile, come the third quarter or the fourth quarter when the home's almost ready, you may not even qualify anymore. Then what? So there's pros and cons to
and
that builder business.
and also, when you think about that as well, you don't want the lender, you don't want to get something at the top of your budget, because we
Hmm.
don't know what interest rates are going to do. Because what have several clients that when they went under contract, interest rates were in the threes. This was back in January. Now their home is about to be finished, and here we are in the
Yes.
sevens, right? So you don't want to be maxing out your budget. You want to have some wiggle room in there as well. Real quick, let me just touch on this question from Orlandis. Have you seen an increase in half-built new construction communities sold to investors for rental? I'm sure that's happening throughout the country. In the Charlotte area, I only know one community that have done that, and it wasn't even half built. They started building, it was a townhouse community called Cedar Ridge in Still Creek by David Weekley. They started building it. I actually went and filmed it. And then, 2 weeks later, the agent calls me. He was like, yeah, an investor came in and offered to buy all of them. So they transferred that. It's supposed to be for, single family. I mean, not single family, it was townhouses, but for individuals. But an investor came in and bought them all, and now they're all going to be rentals. So I've only seen one community in the Charlotte area that has done that in the past 3 years. But what you have seen is builders start to stop building as much, stop applying for as many permits. The pace of building, pace of releases have slowed down dramatically while these interest rates have gone up.
Um, I just want to respond to something. So, the grant program, if you qualify for it, you can use it anywhere. You don't have to come to North Carolina, South Carolina, but North Carolina and South Carolina is where Sir Ashley is licensed real estate agent, and I'm also here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, of course, I want you to come to the Carolinas.
Come on,
But if
come
you
to the Carolinas. Come
qualify,
on.
you can use it. You can use it anywhere as long as you qualify for it. And someone asked about an assumable mortgage. So, for an assumable mortgage, it's not going to be advertised. The seller of the property or the owner of that mortgage would need to call the mortgage company and ask if they have an assumable mortgage. Most cases, the mortgage that is assumable is going to be a government mortgage,
Yeah.
FHA, VA, USDA, and there are caveats with that as well. So, an assumable mortgage means grandma bought her house 10 years. Well, no, let's say grandma. We'll say your brother bought a house 10 years ago, right? And you want to come in and take over the mortgage, take over, his interest rate. Okay. Better yet, your brother bought a house in 2021 when interest rates were 3%.
Yeah.
He's got a 3% interest rate on his mortgage, and you want to come in and assume the rest of the mortgage and take it over and take the interest rate over too. So now you have a house with an interest rate that doesn't exist anymore. You want to assume that. Now, for the person that has the mortgage, your brother has to get permission from the mortgage company And then he also takes on some risk, because if you assume that mortgage and for any reason you default on it, your brother is still on the hook. So be careful with assumable mortgages. If you're trying to take over a mortgage that doesn't belong to a family member, now those are usually the easiest transitions. Is a family member, grandmom, you want to take over grandmom's house, they're up in age, want to leave the house to somebody, and they don't want to sell it, but you want to come in and take over the mortgage. It's easier when it's family members, but it can be done. So that person would need to call their mortgage company, ask if they have an assumable mortgage. Can my mortgage be assumed? Right?
Yeah.
Do I have an assumable mortgage?
So what it
What are
comes
the
down to,
requirements for it?
yeah,
Yeah.
is so great question. I actually in the video I touched on recently. I just put out touched on assuming a mortgage. Sorry about that. And it's one of those things that a lot of real estate agents don't even realize that some mortgages are assumable, and they don't even know to ask their seller if it is or not, because we haven't been in an environment where they had to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
Sahaad, I think I mentioned this to you, but I've been talking about it for the past 2 weeks. I'm trying to find somebody that was practicing real estate heavily in the early 80s when they had a high interest rate environment, but yet
Mm-hmm.
prices were going up, similar to where we are right now. We're not anywhere near as high as they were in the early 80s. They were at 14, 15, 16, 17%, but high to what it was just last year. But deals were still getting done, and they were getting done because there was creativity being had, taken advantage of, whether it be assuming a mortgage, sellers carrying a second mortgage, and we can touch on that in later videos and get into depth regarding that. But I am really ecstatic regarding the next 12 to 24 months, because I came into real estate as an investor. And I felt bad the past 2 years trying to buy properties from people when I knew that they just can get more if they just listed it with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But now all the buyers are, or a lot of the buyers have gone away. So it's time for investors and people that really want to buy to have
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity to put forth creative options that really is a win for the seller, because they would not have been able to sell it any other way.
Yeah, that's very true. Um, Interest rates being higher right now than where they were a couple months ago, you're looking at a couple $100 difference in
Ah,
payment.
yes, I have that.
Yeah.
1 second. Can you answer High Vibes
Hi, I'm
question
coming to
real quick?
NC in 2023. When should I apply for the grant? When in 2023? So, first quarter 2023 or summer 2023? And
There you go.
you can text me and we can put together what your home buying plan looks like in your transition to North Carolina.
So I have the chart up regarding what the
Oh,
different
okay.
interest rates have done as far as
Yeah.
pricing and stuff.
So if you're looking at this, what is the average home purchase price here in North Carolina?
North Carolina as a whole, about 350 as a whole.
Okay.
Now the cities,
Charlotte?
major populations area, Charlotte is right around 400 right now.
Okay. So if we're looking at this middle tier, you can see, you know, a 6% interest rate going up to 7.5 interest rate. We're looking at a difference. We got 23.98, so we'll call it $2,400, and then 27.98, $2,800. That's $400. Okay. If you can't make room for $400 in your month to month budget, maybe you don't need a house that's almost $500,000. Seriously. Seriously.
Yeah.
This is all it is. You need to think about it as month to month payment. Don't get fixated on interest rates. Nobody stays in the same mortgage for 30 years. It's going to change. you're probably going to move. This is not your first, this is only your first home in your investment portfolio. It's, it may not be your forever home, and even if it is, it doesn't have to be your forever mortgage. You can change it. But if you're shopping and you're payment sensitive, meaning, this monthly payment is going to make and break you, no matter, it's going to break you if you have $100-$200 difference in your month to month payment, then maybe you don't need to be shopping for a house that's almost $500,000. Seriously. And then on top of that, I always say homeownership needs to be a priority the way that getting back and forth to work is a priority for people. If your vehicle went down today and you didn't have a car, you would go and get another car. And it wouldn't matter what they told you because you got to go to work. You need to make the same, give that same intensity for home ownership and make it a priority for your family. That this is something that you're doing. You're putting a roof over your head. You're creating creating stability. And if that means you have to get disciplined and make room in your budget, if I'm going to make room for something, it's going to be a house, okay? Not a purse, not a car, not a trip. If I have to get disciplined and go without and sacrifice, shopping on Sheen and Fashion Nova in the middle of the night, okay, because those are my real problems, then that's what I got to sacrifice if it means I need to get into a home with my family. That's
Yeah.
it.
Real quick, I wanna say thank you, Christina. Christina Smallhorn. She is one of my mentors regarding YouTube and just a friend as well. So thank you for the support. I appreciate you. And if you are not following her channel, please go ahead and subscribe to her channel. And Sahaad's channel is in the description as well. Go ahead. She doesn't have any content up, so go ahead and bug her. Tell her to make some videos. And then Danny, touring the Carolinas with Danny, he made a comment earlier. He's a team member of mine. Feel
Hey,
free
Danny.
to follow him as well. So thank you all. Again, I know it's a Friday evening. Thank you for rocking with us. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Do we put our social media handles like our Instagram
I didn't put your
or no?
Instagram in there, but it's I can. You can go ahead and promote it right now if you want to.
So you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok, the mortgage match all together. Exactly, spelling is exactly as it sounds, at the mortgage match, and I'll pop up. And my phone number, all of my information that's on there. Look at that person right there. My phone number is 267-629-4181. That's my real phone number for, mortgages. I know this is going to go on the internet, but
Yeah.
that's how you
It's
reach
it's
me.
it's one of those things. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like when you start putting your phone number out there, people use it, which I want them to use it, but then people just use it randomly. Like I get calls, people asking me about where should they get a haircut in the Carolinas, and it's I give them the information, I give them the answer, even though I don't have any hair anymore. Um, but yeah, it's just you just never know what's gonna come your way once you put your number out there.
Well, if they ask me that and it's a client of mine and we're doing a mortgage, I had one heck of a time finding a hair store, a nail salon, where I know where the stuff is for the girls.
I
So
got you.
I don't mind.
Yeah. So real
How to
quick,
pay
there
attention
is
as
one
well.
question. House repair costs, should we budget for that as well? Most definitely, you should budget for house repair costs.
Mhm.
And this just goes to a larger picture, given the economic uncertainty we're in right now. I want everyone, in addition to saving up for your down payment and everything like that, to have anywhere from 3 to 6 months of reserves to live off of, just in case something bad or awful happens. God forbid anything happens to anybody's job, but you have that to sustain you while you're searching for replacement and work. I know it could be difficult saving that type of money up, but we are very fortunate to have Uber Eats, Uber, DoorDash, where people, I've had tenants uh, in some of my rental properties make like $3,000 a week driving for Uber and DoorDash. And I actually had her show me, like, I don't believe you. And no, she showed me how she did it, and it is possible. And I'm like, that is absolutely insane. So we live in a fortunate enough environment and time to where if you have the hustle and drive, um, you can make it happen. You can make it happen.
10,000 for every $100,000 worth of house
Yeah.
is my go-to when people say, "Well, how much money should I have saved up to purchase a house?" My rule of thumb is for every $100,000 of home you'd like to purchase, plan to have $10,000 of your own money. Now, you may not use all of it by a long shot, but if you think like that, you will have enough to pay your closing costs here in North Carolina, South Carolina, and have money left over for those emergency expenses to have those reserves. For every $100,000 of house, think I'm going to save $10,000 of my own money. So, $400,000 house, 40 grand.
I'm with you. So Chantel, please reach out again. Um, I've it might have got lost, or I just didn't see the text. So I apologize. No real excuse, but reach out. I'm here. Shoot a text this evening, 704 or sir@sirashley.com. Thank you, Orlandis. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. So we have, I'm going to say 5 more minutes. I know I've kept you for almost an hour now, and it is Friday evening. I'm sure you have other things to do. Um, so please, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section. I'm about to scroll up to see if there's any that I missed.
I have a question for the group. Um, what has stopped you from buying a home? What what are your fears? What has stopped you? That's something I always like to know. 55
Um,
plus community.
So we have several of those here in the Carolinas. Reach out to us. Actually on my other channel. Yes, I have another channel. Living in the Carolinas with Sir Ashley or by Sir Ashley. I plan on releasing. I have like 3 communities. Uh, every floor plan they have for the 55 plus community. I've been slacking on making videos. I've been fortunate enough to be very busy with work. I am a full-time real estate agent and an investor. So I've been very fortunate to be busy. So I'm not complaining, but it has taken away from me able to jump on live streams or creating more content and putting out the content that I've already have halfway done to finish it off. But there's tons of 55 older communities. Price range is typically around anywhere from 350 all the way up to, I mean, you can get up to 900,000, but 350 is where it starts. So one of the fears is commitment to a long-term purchases.
You got a car? That's long term.
Yeah. And no, I totally get that. I totally understand that. It's one of those things though that what I see it as, you're gonna need somewhere to live anyway. And if you're going to be in a situation or a place for longer than 2 years, I believe for the average person, it's just wise to own it as opposed to rent it. And the reason why I say 2 years is because after 2 years and you sell the property, you don't have to pay capital gains tax on it. But even if you can plan on holding it if you want to as well.
Interest rate and fear of not staying in current location. Okay.
Yeah.
And someone said being underwater. So,
Please touch on that because I want to actually, after you touch on it, I want to talk about it.
so the market shifts, it goes up, it goes down. You may be underwater for a small period of time and you're in your mortgage and you don't even know that you were underwater in that time frame. and then the market recovers and you're no longer underwater again. So it can shift. Now, what we've seen the last 6 months, last 2 years, I can tell you that those people are underwater right now in their house. So if they overbid, severely overbid just to get into the house, then they are underwater.
Yeah.
But if you go in around the regular purchase price, the market is going to go like this, but it won't be drastic.
Yeah. So my answer to that is similar to where I have clients that overbid, and yes, they're underwater now. However, I actually talked to one of them recently. They live in Huntersville, and they still believe that this was the best purchase they've ever made because they got an over $500,000 property with a 2% interest rate. So if they rented out that house, 2.3, 2.4, if they
Mhm.
rented out that house, if they rented that house, they would be paying almost double in rent than what they're paying in mortgage. So they're like, I could care less if I'm underwater technically. I'm not never, but I'm not selling it. I'm
Mhm.
living in it, I'm enjoying it. And if I rented it, I would just be paying, all my money would be going, getting thrown away anyway. So it really comes down to your perspective. And if you need to sell, um, then I can see where it could be an issue. But with real estate, you buy real estate and wait. You just hold on to it.
Mhm.
Because people that bought it at the top of the market in 2007, 2008, yeah, they went underwater for about 10 years. Do you think they're complaining now?
No.
They're not complaining now. So you buy real estate and wait because historically prices go up. Yes, it's going to go up and down, but it's going to go up in that trajectory over time. So buy real estate and wait as opposed to wait and buy real estate because you're going to need a place to live. And again, base that on if you're going to be in an area for 2 years or more.
Yes. Someone said that their fear was of prices going up. Rent is absolutely going to go up. So one way or another, rent is going to go up. And someone else said, I'm retired. I have a 6 month gap in employment.
Where are we at? Okay, I got you. One, I want to
So you
thank you
only
all
need to
for
be
leaving
working
your comments and
six
questions.
months.
Thank you. Thank you.
Melinda, if you reach out to me after this, or shoot me an email or something. I will pull the guideline for you for FHA with what you just put in the chat. Reach out to me separately.
And this is my man Danny. Thank you. Go ahead and
Yeah.
follow his page. He's a team member of mine. Uh, amazing brother. Amazing brother. Can't speak highly enough of him.
Thank you so much
Um,
for having me. This is awesome.
Concerned about material costs with building. Um, I don't, not to be funny, but I wouldn't be concerned with material costs. You're not buying it, right? Like you're buying the house, but you're not buying the material costs. And right now, builders are so right now is the sweet spot. Anywhere, usually the fourth quarter is the sweet spot anyway. But because of the interest rate environment and where we are with things, builders, if the home is in construction or even completed, you're able to get a very good deal right now. Meaning, I told you about one builder. Another builder recently, they reach out to me. They know I have clients and stuff like that. A home was, what was that home? It was 670. He's like, sir, I can get this for 620. Bring me an offer. So builders right now, you have leverage if you are a buyer, and the home is almost completed or completed. Now, I can't say that's going to be the case in the spring because I don't know where interest rates are going to be. And if interest rates go down into the fives like they hit in August, In August, they went down to like 5.5 around there, and I saw a surge in people wanting to buy. So if
Mm-hmm.
they go down again to 5.5 or lower, I don't have any reason to believe that that won't bring more buyers to the market, and then you'll be up against more competition, and the builders won't have to be as flexible as they are right now.
Mm-mm. They won't have to be, because when people say they're sitting, like, I'm sitting back, I'm waiting for the market to change. Well, you're sitting back waiting with the investors, because when it gets better in the market, it's better for them too, and they are going to come back. They slowed down, but they didn't stop. Builders are desperate to sell
Yeah.
unbuilt homes.
Yeah. So with that said, I mean, we don't know what they're going to do as far as their game plan and changing things up. There is a community that they haven't sold like homes to a group of investors or anything, but there is a community recently that has opened up selling to investors, like small mom and top investors, not large corporations. Um, and with any community you buy in, even if it is a brand new community that don't really, they say no investors allowed, you will see if you looked that the community may be a year, 2 years old, and then you have homes going on the market. And those homes are being sold primarily to investors. So no matter what community you're going to go to, there's going to be investors buying in that community, even if it is a new community. Um, I say regarding pricing, just make sure it works in your budget and get the best deal possible. Try to squeeze the most you can out of these builders, because trust me, they were doing that to you for the last 2 years. They were doing that to us buyers the past 2 years. So now it's time
Buyer
to
abusive.
now it's time to have some payback. This is Matt. Thank you again for Matt. I know it's Friday evening. Thank you for watching. Um, yes, you can. And if something happens, you can rent out your house for equal or greater the amount of your mortgage payment. So being upside
Mm-hmm.
down doesn't really matter. I can speak of, there was a home I bought in Greensboro. It was subject to. I bought it upside down, but I rented it out. I really wasn't care. I didn't care about the property value as long as it cash flowed. And if it cash flowed, I was perfectly happy with it. I wasn't selling it. Now I did sell it. What 2019? Should have held it a little longer, but yeah, so long as it cash flows, you don't really care about, you know if it's up underwater or not. Yeah, it depends. It depends where at in West Charlotte. A question is, he feels like home prices are higher in South and East Charlotte, and West Charlotte is cheaper area to buy in. So West Charlotte, actually, so West Charlotte, you're coming toward the Riverbend district or River district, and that is about to grow like no other. They have a lot of funds, millions and millions of dollars going over to West Charlotte. Now, if you go west of Charlotte, you have Gaston County, and even Gaston County is growing. Mount Holly,
Mm-hmm.
Belmont, Gastonia, they have a huge fuse district going in downtown Gastonia, of all places. I would have I'm still not sold completely on Gastonia, but a lot of my clients are making me go out there because they like it, and it's becoming more attractive and more costly. So while it may be affordable now or cheaper, I don't see that being the case moving in the next 5 to 10 years, just because of all the development going on out there.
Yeah.
But thank you all for rocking with us on a Friday evening. I'm actually surprised at the turnout. I'm grateful and humbled by the turnout and the questions. And thank you, Sahaad, for joining us. Uh, can
Thank you
you
for having me.
please leave your contact information? Again, it is in the description, but can you leave it for everyone right now so they can
Yeah.
reach out to you if they have any questions?
My Instagram is the mortgage match, and someone has already texted me. My work phone number is 267-629-4181. You can find me, I mean, all my social media handles are The Mortgage Match. I have a YouTube channel as well. There's no content up there, but if you text this phone, you're going to reach
Yeah.
me.
So I will
So,
help you out with that. After we're done with this, I will chop this video up, send it to you, and you can upload it on your channel as well.
oh, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. It'll be my first video.
Yeah. So no, I thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, my contact information is in the description, and you can always text me. It's probably the best way to get a hold of me. And I'll talk to you all later. You enjoy your night. Bye.
Good night, y'all.